may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Alright guys, in a recent video we went through and we talked about some young stud prospects that are now being projected to be significant players in fantasy baseball. Guys that are going at the very top of drafts, and we kind of sat there going, okay, let's look at what we have so far. Let's see if this makes sense. What am I missing here? Because I know a lot of people drafting in those high stakes fantasy baseball drafts know way more than I do. So I'm trying to learn what is going on. What am I missing? And what we're going to be doing in this video is we're going to go to the opposite end of the spectrum, where we're going to be looking at these players that are 33, 34, 35 years old that maybe are starting to slow down. We're going to try to evaluate if we think that they are indeed slowing down, or if we should instead try to take the age discount that we can get and target them in drafts or trades. But before we get into the video, I need to give a massive shout out to Thrive Fantasy, who, for this audience, if you use promo code FLOCK by going through one of the links in the description of the video or the comment section, you can get entered into a free $1,000 free roll for opening day. So please guys, it helps out the channel so much if you do it. If you're on the fence, just go, hey, Mason does everything he can for me, so go do it anyway. Go use promo code FLOCK, get yourself that free $1,000 free roll where you can compete for the top prize. And obviously it's not a $1,000 entry that you're getting, it's the top prize of $1,000. But anyway, let's dive into this. Let's look at some of these players that maybe are starting to slow down. And our first player is going to be Jose Abreu. And I understand a lot of people are going to be going, Mason, shut up. Did you not see what happened in 2020? But he is 34 years old, and he is going at pick 36 overall. So he's going at the end of the third, the beginning of the fourth. So we go, if you look at what happened in 2020, really there's no reason for him to be going in this range, especially when he's playing for the Chicago White Sox, a very nice lineup, a lineup that you want to target. So are people here projecting him to slow down? Are people here projecting him to take a step back as he ages? And I'll say, first thing is, with these players that have very high slugging numbers, they're going to be the guys that you have to worry about age the least. Obviously, the players that you have to worry about age is the guys that you're drafting for like stolen bases, that category. But if you're drafting someone for their slugging percentage, I mean, I think generally that's where you go and you take the age discount. And what I also want to do is I don't want to pull up what he did in 2020 just because it was a small sample, an extremely weird year. It's going to be very hard to draw anything away from that. What I would rather do is look at what he did when he was 32. Let's look at what he did in 2019, where he had 634 at-bats in a completely regular year. So we can look at this, go, you know what, this is probably fair to evaluate him on. And in those 634 at-bats, he had a 284 batting average, a 330 on-base percentage, and a 503 slugging, where, yes, we understand that he was elite in 2020. You go to 2020, in only 240 at-bats, he had a 317 average, a 370 on-base percentage, and a 617 slugging. So let's look at these two things compared to what RotoChamp has him currently projected for in 2021. And if you don't know what RotoChamp is, this is not an ad or anything. RotoChamp is just a website that takes a ton of projections from all over the internet and kind of compiles them into just a composite projection system. So it's like an average draft position for projections. I really like to look at it. And here they have him projected for 595 at-bats, a 277 average, a 332 on base percentage, and a 503 slugging. So we look across pretty much all the industries and see that, hey, pretty much everybody's expecting him to take a drop in batting average. Everyone's also expecting him to take that drop in on base percentage. And yes, the drop in slugging from 2020, but we're not looking at 2020. We're looking at 2019, where they're expecting it to be about the same. So I think these are fair projections, because you would naturally assume as he just continues to advance in age that his slugging should probably remain the same, batting average maybe go down a little bit. But if we look at these composite projections and see what value RotoChamp assigns to him compared to all the other players with the composite projections, they actually assign him the 32nd player rank, and he is currently going at pick 36. So if we look at what he did in 2019, where he really shows no signs of slowing down, combined with the fact that projection systems have him projected to take a step back, and he is still beating his ADP value, I think Jose Abreu is someone that you can look to take, especially if he falls to the early fourth in your draft. That's going to be something we want to target. All right, so now our next player that we are going to be bringing up is going to be an outfielder for the Colorado Rockies. It's going to be Charlie Blackmon, who right now is 34 years old and going at pick 87, so going a little bit later in drafts where you're going to be taking him in the 8th, 9th round. We know that also with these picks later on, generally you're going to see a wider distribution of where these players are taken, so you can't necessarily be that surprised if you see him go in the 6th versus you see him go in the 11th. But anyway here, what we are going to do is the same thing. Let's look at 2019, the last full season that he had, where he was 32 years old, and in 2019, he had 580 at-bats, so a completely fair sample to look at. He had a 314 batting average, a 364 on base percentage, and a 576 slugging. So we go, okay, these numbers are elite across the board. And yes, he's 2 years older. And in 2020, he took a step back, specifically in the slugging percentage, where in 221 at-bats, he had a 303 average, he had a 356 on base percentage, and the slugging dropped all the way down to 448. But it's a very small sample. You can't take that much away from it. And if you're looking at the projections from RotoChamp in 2021, they have him currently as the 57th best player with their value system. So don't think that that's just based on their trade targets or anything. No, that's just based on their own rankings. And they have him projected for 536 at-bats, a 291 average, so taking a significant step back actually from where he was in 2019 as well as 2020, a 354 on base percentage, so they have him projected for taking a step back in 2019 and 2020, and the slugging there at 494, so kind of a happy medium between the two seasons. And if they have him as the 57th best player, I think that you look at his ADP at 87 and you go, this is someone that you have to target in your drafts. If you can get him in the 8th, 9th round, if you can take that age discount, that's going to be something that you want to do. All right, so now let's pull up our next player. Going to be playing for the St. Louis Cardinals. This is going to be Paul Goldschmidt, who is 33 years old, so a little bit younger than the other two players we were talking about. He's playing first base, and he's going in the 9th, 10th round area for those 12-team leagues. And we go through, let's pull up his stats. In 2019, this is the one thing that I'm looking at going, you know what, maybe we don't need to be too concerned about drafting him. Only a 260 average and a 346 on base percentage, 476 slugging off of 597 at-bats, so a fair sample to look at, like we always need to make sure. And yes, in 2020, he takes that significant step up to 304 for his batting average, a 417 on base percentage. Slugging remains about the same. But here, I can't get behind drafting him, to be honest, just because I would definitely prefer looking at the 2019 season rather than the 2020 year, because we understand that 2020, so many things were crazy that those numbers are just going to be skewed. I really don't want to heavily weight those, where I would rather weight a sample that's 3 times the size in a completely normal scenario, even if it was a little bit further back. So I'm going to be going with the 2019 numbers here. So I think Paul Goldschmidt is someone that you're probably going to want to avoid in your fantasy baseball drafts unless he falls further than his ADP. But thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. And go down there, guys. Go to the comment section. Go to the description of the video. Go participate in Thrive's opening day special. I promise you, you're going to have a very difficult time finding something that's more appealing than this for opening day. Go get it on the fun. That way you have something to look forward to when watching the games. But yeah, that's it, guys. Have a great day, and I'll see y'all with the video tomorrow.